Good morning. It's nice to have you here in my home, San Diego. A little less sunny today than normal, but hopefully those clouds will burn off and it'll be nice and sunny come lunchtime. So I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd here today for those who don't know me, and I think Megan did a really good job with the introduction. My name is Cam. I lead consumer identity product for PlayStation. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about our journey throughout the years on getting Passkey on our various different platforms. But before I get started, I think a good way to introduce our journey is to do so in a way that a gaming and entertainment company should.
PlayStation.
Now, that was one of our launch videos, and I'm sure a video like that can really get a lot of questions going, such as, did y'all just make a trailer for Passkey integration? And not only did we've got millions and millions of views on YouTube on that exact video, and I think that really got users to know about Passkey in ways that they were not previously aware of. But let's go back to the start. And as you'll see, my friend Astrobot is here, and I'll be using him throughout the presentation as a guide. And you may be familiar with our brand. PlayStation, pretty big name, I think. We have a lot of different great assets, some of those that were visible in the video. But PlayStation is only a part of Sony. But we are responsible for the entire account. And so this includes things like PlayStation, but it also includes things like Sony Rewards and a light bulb app in Japan. And we have to make sure that all of these needs are considered when we're thinking about changing authentication. And as we all are aware here, passwords are the problem. I'm not going to go into too many details here. We're all aware there have been a lot of great presentations here this conference. But for us, account access issues are the #1 driver of customer service calls. And I know we are not alone in facing this issue. It's very expensive, whether it's a self-service resolution as well as those who call our call center. In addition, the password problem costs us tens of millions of dollars a year. In addition to customer service, we have things like SMS OTP. That gets really expensive, as well as third-party security services that are needed because passwords are inherently phishable. And lastly, on PlayStation and other Sony services, users expect frictionless access. In highly regulated industries, such as banks or healthcare, they know that there should be a little bit more of a friction point in order to access these services. Users do not want that on PlayStation. So what do they want? Right? Our users care about playing the game, right? They care about accessing our services and just getting straight into what they want to do. They don't want to hassle with extra steps on sign-in. I know many of us in this industry think that our users care about having safe and secure accounts, but the reality is, in these light touch consumer services, they don't care. Maybe they do care when it's too late, but for the most part, they just care about accessing. And we all know the benefits of passkeys. This has been iterated many times throughout this conference. They are easier to use. They're much faster to use. and they reduce costs for the business. So there's really that win-win for both the business side and the user side. Very rarely do you see something like that in the identity and security space. And then lastly, they're more secure. Account takeover is a huge problem that we have, and I know many in the audience are experiencing that same issue. And the reason I bring up these three areas is for PlayStation and for Sony, we have only but limited touch points with our users. For PS5, in many cases, a user will sign in the first time when they get that new console, maybe on a Christmas morning, and then they never sign in ever again. So they're not thinking about their account. They're not thinking about signing in. And this is also true in our app and web experiences as well. So we know that we have very limited opportunity to educate users about Passkey, but also to convince them that, hey, this is a good idea. And so as a result, we wanted to maximize the benefits of Passkey on PlayStation. And in order to do that, and to really maximize the benefits of all three, we wanted to replace passwords with passkeys. And we wanted to do that at our launch. Mainly because if you do it at a launch, you can make it a positive experience. While if you remove it later, it's going to be a little bit more of a nuanced conversation with your users. So that's a big undertaking, replacing passwords. So you might be thinking, what about consoles? What about web, app experiences, peripheral devices that have sign-in, and all of those Sony experiences that I was talking about before, which could also be on web, could be on apps. It's a lot to cover. And when we embarked on this journey a few years ago, this finish line felt very far away. Actually, even at the time, passkeys didn't even exist yet. And so we knew we were having to hit a moving target as we were building this. So in order to do so, we came up with a set of principles that would follow us throughout our journey and really kind of guide us to our eventual launch. The first of which is passkeys must be compelling. We know passkeys are good. Everyone in this room knows that passkeys are good. But does a 14-year-old in Iowa know that they're good? Does the 65-year-old gamer in Germany know that they're good? We wanted to make sure that these are compelling use cases and compelling reasons for users to get them on board in ways that they were not mandatory or forced. We wanted users to want to do it. And also, we wanted to make synced passkeys available to everyone on our platform. Our platform is semi-unique, where we have lots of users who are children. And how do we make sure that we're messaging passkeys so that these users are not more vulnerable because they are using phishable credentials and passwords? And lastly, passkeys must be supported for all of sign-in. I think I've seen some very, very innovative deployments in the marketplace today of having backup options, but we had decided we're ripping that Band-Aid off, right? There's no password to fall back on. The users must be able to sign in on all of those different clients, all of those different devices. So we had a little bit of homework to do. And there were some things that we needed to do to set the foundation for Passkey. The first of which is we needed to move all of sign-in experiences to the same domain. Passkeys are domain specific. We've got Sony, we have PlayStation, we have a lot of different other entities that had sign-in experiences. And we needed to unify this in order to make Passkey possible. Secondly, we saw mobile as a great connector of cross-device experiences. People have console. Some people only engage with our console. Some people only engage with our web or app experiences. I'd love to have a Passkey and a PlayStation controller. That wasn't feasible to scale to all of our Sony experiences. So we saw mobile as really the best way to do that. And lastly, because we wanted to make passwords obsolete, cross-device authentication, while great, wasn't enough for us. The hybrid cross-device flow is really excellent because essentially as a relying party, you kind of get it out of the box. The operating systems, various different browsers, they do a very good job at allowing users to have these cross-device experiences, but we didn't see it as viable enough for us, especially on console. So how do we engage with our users? We wanted to make Passkey activation possible wherever users are engaging with us. And the best way, and really the most prolific way that users activate passkeys today, is through account recovery. So when users are frustrated about their password experience, whether it was compromised or they forgot it or they self-encrypted and they forgot what that looks like, we wanted to make sure that users had the opportunity to get rid of their password forever. But also, for new users, and for users who are engaging with our various different consoles, maybe for the first time, we wanted to make several different options available. So during the PS5 setup experience, whether you had an account already or not, and during account creation on console, we wanted to make Passkey a part of that. And that's been a very engaging way to include Passkey when users are thinking about their account. And what about sign-in? Sign-in was the tricky one. It was definitely the elephant in the room as we were thinking through our Passkey deployment. So we needed to come up with options. Passkey on the device. So if a user is signing in on the PS app on their phone, or if they're signing in on PlayStation.com on their phone, or maybe their laptop that has access to their various different keychains, they can just sign in the way they would sign into any web experience. We also have the cross-device flow, the hybrid flow. But we needed more. So we created our own in-app QR code because not every experience supports WebAuthn. And we wanted to have a backup option where users can sign in via email, but they do have to have a passkey as part of that process. So this was risky. We knew that going in. And we wanted to make sure that we were managing that risk as best as we could. And the first way to do this is UX research. I think Microsoft did a really good job talking about how they've approached this problem. And we took a very similar approach as we were thinking about getting into Passkey. Do they feel comfortable scanning QR codes on consoles? Do they know what passkeys are? What language resonates with our users? This was all heavily tested many times to make sure that the product and user experiences that we put in front of our users were the most compelling. Also, all of you. The FIDO collaboration that we had was extremely essential for a successful deployment. As Megan mentioned, we've been very active in various different working groups, and talking to many of you was really essential to know, not only what is available to us, what are the best practices, but what is coming. What are these bigger problems that are going to be coming down the road, and how do we shape our solution to hit this moving target? And maybe standard was for some large features, but testing and validation solutions with an internal beta testing was absolutely critical. I can only have but so many devices, my QA team the same. We wanted to make sure that we were really validating our solution with lots of different environments to make sure that we were catching all of our edge cases before we release this to the world. And speaking of, we did a regional rollout, which really helped control our risk. When you rip the Band-Aid off, it's hard to put it back on when you're removing that password. So we started in Australia and New Zealand, not only because they're smaller, a subset of our population, but because they speak English. So any feedback that was given, our product team and our development team could easily process that information and put that into the product. And that was very successful as we slowly rolled out to the rest of the world. And come launch time, we wanted to make sure that we had the right messaging for our users. Some users care a lot about the security of their account. Some don't care at all, right? So how do we say the right message to the right user at the right time? And I think the best way we went about it is we did it all. Email, large email blasts about Passkey, social media channels, including our regional channels so that it was localized for specific languages. We had console notifications, so for users who only play games, only engage with our consoles, they were able to learn about Passkey. The PS app, very valuable for us because mobile was that connecting piece of all of our cross-platform experiences. And lots of information on PlayStation.com/Passkey. So if users wanted to learn more, wanted to find out, hey, what's Passkey? What does this mean for me? They have this opportunity and resource. And then came launch time. And so as we all held our breath, I think it was a success. Our users not only loved the fact that they had a higher security option, we were really wondering whether users were happy about the password replacement, and we saw a lot of really great feedback. That not only did users not want to have a password again, they felt safer on PlayStation than they did before. So let's talk numbers. I know in previous iterations of Authenticate, this is something that I always came for, so I wanted to make sure that we shared some of these numbers with you all. The first of is 88% of users who engaged with Passkey content, they went to a Passkey screen, they completed a Passkey activation and removed their password. And of those users, 30% are people who previously had two-factor authentication. So thinking back to those reduced costs and the benefits of Passkey, this was something that really materialized, even from our launch day to now. And for account recovery, 29% of our users who go through that account recovery process with a password remove it for good, and they now have Passkey. So not only are we reducing our risk factor, we're really saving a lot of cost here. And on web experiences, reduction in web sign-in is 24% faster. And this includes things like email and the extra QR codes. So with all of those potential extra steps, it's still much quicker. And for console, it's even much faster than that. So as my friend Askerbot is moving here, so are we. I don't see Passkey as the finish line. This is a top priority for us for the rest of the year and for next year and maybe for years to come. I think our deployment has gone pretty well, but we have room to grow, not only as an organization, but as a community. There's a lot of really great work that's being done by this group here. So Passkey is the next chapter of consumer authentication, not the destination. And I'll leave you with this. You can do it too. Maximize the results from your Passkey deployment, whether you're a small startup or you're a large company such as ourselves. Minimize those risks with proper setup and testing in each stage. And lastly, full password replacement is a reasonable expectation, even for a launch. Thank you.